Hi guys, and welcome to this, well, I guess you could call it a little review. And what is this little review about? Well, it's about three cables that EPZ has just recently launched. We know that EPZ is a brand known for its earphones, I mean IEMs, TWSs. However, they've also decided to offer some cables, which I guess mainly their intention is really to be an upgrade for their own stock cables that they bring with their IEMs. And before I actually carry on, I just want to make one thing perfectly clear. My views on cables are not extremist. I'm neither for nor against really. The fact is that when we talk about cables and the whole politics around cables, it's very complicated. And in my experience thus far, I have seen maybe those cables that are at least meeting more my requirements, coming from smaller brands than necessarily the big brands, the more well-known brands. I could be wrong, and I'm not saying that I'm not wrong. I haven't tried all the cables out there, but I have had the opportunity to try some expensive cables that didn't really impress me. And when I then measured those parameters, and that's where I actually base my main decision making about a cable. Is I like to measure the electrical characteristics of a cable, and as long as they are kept within certain values, I mean the DCR resistance, the inductance, and the capacitance, then I'm kind of almost assured that the overall performance between the cable and the IEM will create a decent synergy. Okay, and it's always interesting. I'm always very impressed when I see a brand which is not known for being a cable manufacturer attempting to go into the cable world and actually straight away launching cables that I was impressed. I measured all of these cables, and the results I got out of them were within those values that I consider to be, for me at least, the minimum requirements, let's say. Okay. There are basically three models that they've launched. The D11, which is the one here on the left, which is a single crystal copper silver plated plus graphene. Then they've launched this one here, which I've actually got it here on my K5, on one of my K5s, which is the D12, which is a single crystal copper silver plated plus single crystal copper gold plated. Okay. And this cable actually looks much nicer up live than what you would think it is just on the video here. And then finally on the right side here we have the D13, which is a graphene cable. Okay, I am particularly a fan of graphene cables. For some reason, all of the graphene cables that I've used, and mainly they've been from IVPIQ and XINHS, they've always worked very well with the IEMs that I put them with. And again, let me just reiterate this point. Did I notice huge day and night differences? No, I didn't notice huge day and night differences. I noticed small minor differences. I noticed more on certain IEMs, less so on others, and actually in some IEMs I even saw the performance kind of seem to go back somehow. So this cable thing is really a very, very delicate topic. Okay. With regards to these cables, what is another thing that I want to mention is that the fact they are all modular, so they all come with the 2.5 or actually 3.5, 2.5 and 4.4 terminations, which is actually quite cool. And that's basically it. I mean, I think the important thing is that the complexity of a cable is such that even things like the number of twists that the cable has, how the cable is being braided, how tight or how loose this weave is, can change the inductance and the capacitance of the cable. And I've actually found, following that thought that I've just launched, that the cables that usually are tighter twisted usually yield less inductance and lower impedance. And it actually is true, because this cable here, the D13, actually was the one that had the lowest inductance and the least inductance and the lowest impedance. So anyway, what did I then take, or what did I pick here out of these three cables to use them with? I've got here this the Audio Bravery, which is 4BAs. I've got here the SimGot, the EA1000, the format. I've got here the K5, and I've got the 530. This is our hybrid 1+4, that's 5BA. I've got here the high senior Okavango. And I mean, I could have used many more IEMs, but I wanted to just try and keep it as simple as possible. The one thing I will say straight away, and again, this is down to the experience that I've had so far, is that I usually see cables playing slight or bigger differences with hybrid IEMs or with tri-hybrid IEMs or with basically any IEM which is more complex. When it's a single driver IEM, the differences honestly sometimes are very difficult to pick, and it's just down to how good the cable looks on that particular IEM that is the deciding factor. Let me just make that clear. And to that extent, for example, the format here was the one that I could perceive a very slight difference between the D11 and the D12 and the D13, but it wasn't a day and night difference, to be honest. And out of the three, actually, the one that I prefer the most was the D13. It's the one that somehow, for some reason, it just appealed more to me in terms of the sound. With regards to the Bravery, for example, the Bravery actually worked best with the D11, funny enough. Again, it wasn't a huge dramatic difference between the three cables, but somehow it just seemed that the impedance of the drivers inside of the Bravery, together with the characteristics of the cable, the D11, they just matched themselves, better. Again, just for you to see how complex this whole thing is. And that's why this is a very delicate topic to approach. Even dongle, or well, in this case, what amp I'm using does affect, because the output impedance of that amp with then the impedance that is presented to it by the cable IEM does bring about just small nuances, So this is a hard one. This is really a hard one. With regards to the format, like I said, this was the best cable. The D13 was the one that seemed to give me the slight little edge over the other two. Okay, with regards to the EPZ, the 530, it already brings a very nice cable, which is the Canary cable, which is actually one cable that they had already before in their product line. And to be honest, the 530 somehow just works very well with this cable. I did see that it was better than this one. I didn't see any improvement if I used the D13, and if I used the D12, it was almost identical. But with this one, yes, definitely it was better than this one. There was the Canary cable on the 530 works better than the 530 with the D11. All right, and the Okavango, a hybrid, again. The differences that I noticed, you could perceive them, especially in the upper frequencies. You could perceive a slight difference. The cable that actually worked the best with that Okavango was actually the D12. It just married the D12 very nicely. I'm assuming because of the characteristics in terms of the electrical characteristics of the D12 are very similar to the electric characteristics of the cable that I am using with it, which is the Panon, I forget the name now. Let me just get it here. This one from Panon, the Vocal, I believe it is. It actually works out to have very similar characteristics electrically. So it was the one that just kind of made it the best synergy. And then finally, the K5. I actually, because I've got two K5s, and my two K5s actually measured almost identical. This is actually the stock cable of the K5, which isn't a bad cable. What I actually did to see what was the difference of using the K5 with the stock cable and then the other cables, instead of having to swap out, and you have that little period of time there that you might perceive the difference, but then if it's any longer than 5-6 seconds, it's impossible. So what I did was I had the one K5 hooked up with the stock cable, and the other K5 I would then swap around the cables. Obviously this isn't an ideal testing situation, but I was trying to see if I could pick up a difference. And out of all the IEMs that I tested, the K5 somehow was the one that I could perceive differences, significant differences between significant, and by significant I mean it was very easy to pick up on them between using the cables. Okay, with the stock cable, it's got a it's got how can I say this, neither there or here sound. Okay, with the D11 I felt that the sound improved slightly in terms of the higher frequencies, but not dramatically. With the D12 I found that it tightened up the bass somehow became a little bit tighter, and with the D13 again, I noticed the biggest difference in the higher frequencies. So upper mids and treble were the ones that were affected the most with the D13. Out of all the cables, which was the one that I actually preferred was the D12. And so much so that I've actually got this one now running the D12 all the time. It just sounds really nice with the D12. So yeah, there you go, guys. I mean, I'll post some links so you guys can see the cables on their AliExpress store if you want to maybe have a look at them. They priced competitively, I think, for a modular cable from $60 to $80. Well, and I'm saying this price range because depending on where you are, for example, I'm in Europe, so I have to pay a little bit extra because of taxes. But maybe if you're in the States or something, it will obviously be a little bit cheaper. But they are priced competitively in my opinion, especially when you consider their quality. I mean, this D13 cable here, it's every bit as impressive as, for example, the IVPIQ ones that I use or the XINHS ones that I use. It's got a really nice braiding. It's really nice. The connectors are good quality. It just looks really nice. And then the same thing applies here to the D12. The D12, honestly, this cable in person looks absolutely beautiful. It's a really nice looking cable. The one that's the most bland looking, I guess, is the D11. Just, it's okay. It doesn't offend me, but it's the one that's the most simple looking. Anyway, guys, like I said, I'm trying to not have to open up here a can of worms. I just wanted to show you these cables that they've launched. That's basically it, and show you how they interacted with some IEMs. I mean, like I said, thankfully I've got a lot of IEMs, but I wasn't going to spend now here countless hours comparing them with all the IEMs that I have. But I can, safely say that yes, these cables will introduce some differences in the IEMs that you guys probably have. Some less, some more, but definitely the two cables here that I think will probably be the better choices, especially because they measured better, and I think that will make them the more neutral in that, like I said, in that earphone cable synergy that is created are the D12 and the D13. I think these two cables are the ones that ultimately make the most sense. All right. Anyway, guys, as always, like and subscribe, and if you have any questions, please feel free to ask me. Take care now. Bye bye.